Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macon-Bibb County Board of Commissioners meeting. This is the pre-commission. Today is November the 7th, 2023, and the time is now 4 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone here today at City Hall and call this meeting to order. We do have several items on the agenda today, including the need to go into executive session. And one of the items that we have on there will be an item for appropriations toward the end that Sheriff David Davis will be joining us in. So at this time, I'll go ahead and entertain approval of the minutes for the October the 17th, 2023 meeting for item 2A. Can I get a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by somebody over here, I heard. Who was that? Commissioner Watkins. Any questions on that item? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 3, A, B, and C are items of appointments. Those particular items are in order. 3A is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission reappointing Sylvia W. McGee and Bert Bivens III to Macon-Bibb County Land Bank Authority. That is my motion, Mayor Pro Tem Clark.
I'd just like to second it and also be added as a sign.
Okay. Got a second by Commissioner Clark, and we also be added as a co-sponsor. Any questions regarding those three? Oh, yeah. He's working hard. He figured all you knew him, so he didn't come tonight. So he is doing well. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 3B is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission submitting, that should be Mr. Jacob Patton, instead of Dr. Steve Kruger and Bill Tiff as a slate of nominees to serve on the Macon-Bibb County Hospital Authority Board. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. Any questions regarding that item? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. The next item we have is similar to this one. It's a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission submitting a slate of nominees for the seat currently held by Milton Applin of the Macon-Bibb County Hospital Board and submitting a slate of nominees for the seat currently held by Ron Shipman on the Macon-Bibb County Hospital Authority. I'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Bronson. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilder. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to items 4, which is the new alcohol beverage licenses. We have, I think, 2 of those tonight. Item 4A is the Quick Trip located at 5129 Mercer University Drive, just offside of 475 near Thomason Drive. They have met all the legal and statutory rights to get a license, and they are in good standing. At this time, we entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilder. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to the consent agenda. Item B is a similar item as Board and Brush Creative Studio located at 6255 Zebulon Road, Suite 180. This is out next to Taki and Moe's off of Zebulon Drive. This is an art studio that wishes to have a malt and wine consumed on premises. They meet all the legal and statutory, and they also submitted their certificate of good standing. At this time, we'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. Any questions or concerns? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. And then we have item 5A, which is a short-term rental that's returned from a previous changes there. I know Mr. Jones is not here, Commissioner Jones is not here, but have you received any response from him on those changes? There he is. If Commissioner Jones gets here, we'll talk about this. Just want to make sure before we bring this off the table, there's been some conversations and some changes that were made. So at this time, entertain a motion to remove item 5A from the table and to add it to this agenda item. Motion by Commissioner Howell. Do you have a second? Second by Commissioner Brunson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion is now off of the table, and we'll hear about any particular changes or agreements that we had since our last meeting. Attorney Beavers.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mayor Miller. This legislation was originally sponsored by Commissioner Howell. However, when it last became before this commission, Commissioners Watkins and Commissioners Jones had some concerns about it. So we have made some updates. To begin with, one of the first modifications was giving an example of the agencies that are going to be doing inspections, such as the Macon-Bibb County Fire Department for fire inspections for business licensing. Another change that we looked at was decreasing the fines for each infraction. Previously, they were quite high, starting at $500 for your first violation. We have reduced that to 200, 350 for a second violation, and we remained at 750 for a third violation. We have also included a carve-out that a first citation for operating without a license will not be counted in those 1, 2, 3 violations before a permit is revoked, provided that within 10 days, that person goes and applies for a permit for their short-term vacation rental.
Okay.
Those are our two primary updates to accommodate concerns about unnecessarily high fines, and then also ensuring that people are clear on what agencies and departments are able to inspect versus not.
Thank you for that update. And before moving forward with a motion and second, is there any clarifications that need to be made by Mr. Howell? Mr. Jones, Commissioner Howell, I'll hear from you first. Go ahead. Commissioner Jones, whoever wants to go, one of you two.
Go ahead.
Two comments. Number one, I appreciate Commissioner Howell bringing it forward. Didn't make that point clear the last time. It needed to be done. I just had some problems with the language. No offense to council, but it indicated there was going to be a parade of folks coming through there. So in my mind, that's a violation of private property rights. I like this language better. And that was not just my viewpoint. It was a viewpoint from citizen taxpayers in our community. So I'm good with it, and I appreciate Commissioner Howell bringing it forward.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Commissioner Howell?
I just want to say that I appreciate us getting this to where we're at, and I appreciate the input from Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Watkins. Both of those things probably needed addressing, and I certainly don't have a problem with the changes. I appreciate staff and the attorney's office getting it all squared away. I make a motion that we approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner Howell. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilder. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to item 6A, which is an abandonment of McKinney Drive, and I'll go ahead and let Ms. Beavers, our attorney, discuss what that item is before we vote.
So, the county attorney's office has received a petition to purchase a portion of McKinney Drive that was previously undeveloped. It is from its intersection with Pine Ridge Drive down to a dead end that it provides access for 777 McKinney Drive. We are not going forward with any sale or auction tonight, as the petitioner and the neighbors are still working through what they want to do, but this is just removing this from our public roadways. While this was previously not developed, we did accept the dedication of that neighborhood and have maintained most of the roads within it, which is why we're doing this formal abandonment this evening before the sale.
Okay. Anyone have any questions, Ms. Beavers, regarding this item? As you mentioned earlier, their neighbors are still talking about this particular road in between their properties, and we expect a resolution of that in the near future. Otherwise, we'll take action. Tonight is just the abandonment by the county. That's the first step. So this time, I'd make a motion to approve. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Lucas. Any further questions? Yes, ma'am.
There is a fee that the property owners would pay once they make a determination as to who gets what.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is correct. So most of our abandonments are accompanied by petitions to purchase. There's a $500 fee to account for title searching and engineering work with each petition, and then those petitioners are also have to sign an affidavit that they are willing to pay at least fair market value for the parcel.
Okay. Thank you for that
Okay.
clarification.
So the plan is for them to just kind of split the property and have it as to become a part of their property that they already have.
What we're waiting on is for them to make a decision on which way, if they can work out an agreement between the two of them. If they don't make out an agreement, then the county will determine what method that we would go through, whether it be a sealed bid or a public auction like we did previously.
Okay, I just remember some years ago, we sold a piece of property to someone, and then they ended up putting a billboard on it, you know, and nobody asked the question, well, what is the use of it? And not that that could happen here. Certainly, they would not do that. But there are some times when people want to gain access or control of property, and then they do like these folks did. And this happened to be on Coliseum. And there is a big old billboard up there on that property that we kind of worked with them on.
Sounds like a good investment for somebody.
No, it sounded like deception. That's what it was.
All right. At this time, entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Howell. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Item 7A is an item sponsored by Paul Brunson and myself. It's a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to sign such documents as are necessary to purchase those parcels of real estate known as 1207, 1217, 1223, and 1257 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, being .77 acres more or less in total for the total amount of $68,862.00, payable from Downtown Challenge Grant Funds and Blight Remediation Revolving Loan Fund. I think I've said all that. Commissioner Bronson, you got to say anything in that regard before we take a motion in a second?
Nothing major as of right now, sir. Long road coming, and looking forward to continue to develop the area.
Thank you, Commissioner Bronson. At this time, I have Commissioner Bronson would like to make the motion. Can we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lucas. And I got a question for Commissioner Jones.
Yes, sir. I'm assuming we sent an appraiser out here to come up with this $68,862. Is that correct?
I'll have our attorneys talk about it. We had a third-party representative on my behalf to negotiate these properties for sale, but I'll let Attorney McNeil add any additional information that's needed.
These 4 lots are all being purchased for the 2022 tax assessed value. That's how the numbers came.
That was, okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, they're not always right, as I know, and probably many others, but it seems awfully high to me.
Yeah, they're right on a major thoroughfare, and I think it's fair market value that we believe, but I appreciate the input from our realtor.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further questions, we will go ahead and move forward with the vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to item 7B. 7B is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to sign such document as necessary to purchase the parcel of real estate known as 4305 Chambers Road, being 3.0 acres more or less, for the total sum of $32,353 payable from the Blight Remediation Revolving Loan Fund. You've got a picture of that property there. This is immediately behind the Harrison Road Walmart, which we've had some issues there. And certainly, we're in favor of purchasing this property. If we have some questions, we'll pull this item and talk in the executive session and bring it back before you. If we don't, we'll go ahead and take a vote. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to accept the donation of .28 acres, more or less, located at 2283 Clayton Street. That is sponsored by myself and Mayor Pro Tem Seth Clark. This property, as you can see on the picture, is property we formerly referred to as Bateman and Wade. This is a gift to Macon-Bibb County from the property owner, so there would not be any funds changing hands. So at this time, I'll take a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wynn. So we have a motion and a second. Any questions concerning this? I agree. Yeah. So we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 8 is a street dedication. Item 8A, and this is by Commissioner Paul Bronson and Commissioner Lane Lucas. An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate that portion of Fort Hill running between Sherland Drive and Morrow Avenue in honor of Pastor Willie L. Finney Sr. in recognition of his years of service and leadership to St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church and the Macon-Bibb community. Appropriation amount not to exceed $500 from the general fund balance to Facilities Management Department for the purchase of materials and memorial signage. This time, we entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lucas. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bronson. Commissioner Lucas, you like to say anything?
Yes, sir. I just would like for this to be, if it's possible for us to place this maybe on tonight's agenda, if it's approved by committee of the whole, to place it after,
I'll pull it
maybe
from
at,
Yeah, well,
top of-
if it's successfully completed and goes to the consent agenda, we'll pull it from it.
okay, that would be good, because I think several members of the church are gonna be here, and the pastor probably. And you'll wanna know that he's Pastor Finney is a longtime resident of the east side, and he chose to keep his church in East Macon rather than move. He's one of those who could have taken his congregation and they could have moved other places like some have. He's a retired firefighter and still very, very active. He hosted the Water Authority meeting at his church and many, many others. So tonight, when the members are here, I wish you'd indulge them. I don't think but a couple of them are gonna say anything.
Okay. Can we place them in a spot that if somebody comes to talk about transit authority in that spot?
Pardon? What did you have for
No,
lunch?
I'm sure you heard me. I'm sure you heard me.
Detox.
All right, we can strike that part from the record. All right, we do have a motion and a second, right? Any further questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Item 9A are grants. This is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission to support authorizing the Newtown Macon, Inc. to apply for funds from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program for the expansion of the Omuggy Heritage Trail to include Rose Hill Cemetery. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. As you can see the picture there, this is just allowing them, they wanted a formal resolution where they would allow them to apply for this grant, so we're willing to do that. So Mayor Pro Tem Carter, you have a question? Sign on as a sponsor? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say this is one of those things that I think we all ought to sign on as co-sponsors on it. It carries a lot of weight if you see all of those.
With all the heads, I think everybody that's here and present today, we'll put them on. Thank you. We have a motion and a second and unanimous attendance and signees on this grant. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to consent agenda. We're going to move on to several contracts and purchase orders that we have. And then after that, we'll probably go to executive session and we'll come back and hear from the sheriff's office. Item 10A is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a landscape maintenance service agreement with Pro Cutters Landscapes to perform landscape maintenance services for Macon-Bibb County recreation facilities in an annual amount of $415,000 to be paid from the general fund recreation, maintenance, contract labor, and contractual services line item. This is something that we do every year. We formerly used Polk Landscaping for this, but the bid that was submitted this year was more than this next provider, who is a not a local contractor, but he is a minority contractor from Middle Georgia. So that is the information that we have. And at this time, I'll make a motion to approve. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries and we sent to consent agenda. Item B is a similar item. It's connected in the following manner. This is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an extension of the landscape maintenance service agreement with Polk Landscaping and Nursery to perform landscape maintenance services for Macon-Bibb County and the facilities through the end of the calendar year. So Pro Cutters could not start until January, and our contract expired prior to them with Polk, so they're going to complete the year, and that's what this contract is, to finish out that term for 2023. So that is my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. And Commissioner Bronson, you have a question?
Just out of curiosity, when we go into the bids in regards to like landscaping and so forth, how far out of that bid, of that contract closing out, do we actually announce for the new bids to come in? Just out of curiosity. So if our contract runs from January to January, from January to December, I see paper being shuffled back there. From January to December, at what point do we open that bid up for new contractors that may want to come in and take a bid at taking care of our lawn services?
Okay. I think I understand the question. I'm not sure if the attorney can answer that, but what Commissioner Bronson is asking is how much notice we put out there at the expiration of a contract that will come up for renewal or new anticipatory bids.
Well said, sir.
I think.
Ideally, it's several months, but just depending on the department head and how long they've had to prepare the bid documents and that sort of thing, it can be up to like a month or so. So ideally, we're several months out, but sometimes it gets pretty crunched up. So this one specifically was bid out. The work began on it in June and July. It was published in August. The contract had ended in the middle of October. So, like I said, several months.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Typically, it's 3 to 6 months, Commissioner Bronson, but all contracts expire at various times. Some of those are like 3-year contracts, but 1-year renewals. So we have a tickler system that we have on that. And some department heads may be a little bit more efficient than others.
Cool beans.
So thank you. We are to vote. Commissioner Howell?
This may or may not have anything to do with this, but question, who is doing the landscaping at the, on the interstate at the interchanges, like at Mercer University? Is that part of this, or is that a state deal, or?
We are, the ones that we did, the new gateways, we are responsible for. We put that out for a bid. It used to be Paulk, and now it's one of our local minority contractors through Sri Stevens' office.
Okay, so that's still us, even though it's on the interstate?
Yes, sir. We signed a contract with GDOT in order to maintain those for a period of time in order for them to allow us to do the landscaping there. And those are only at the exits that we approved. Mercer takes care of their own, and then the bid takes care of their own on I-475. And then all the ones that are not part of our processes are taken care of by GDOT.
So Mercer University then is taken care of by the school?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just, like I said, it has nothing to do with this, but they were doing an excellent job out there. I didn't know who was doing the work, but it was working on it hard.
This is one of our local minority contractors did that. All right. We do have a motion and a second. We haven't took a vote yet. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. We're going to move on to item C. This is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a lease purchase agreement with Lenovo Financial Services in the amount of $393,236 over the course of 36 months, payable from the IT department budget, repairs and maintenance, software license and maintenance line item. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Item D is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Corporate Flight Management, DBA, Contour Airlines for the lease of terminal space at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport and for the subsidy of alternate essential air service out of the Middle Georgia Regional in an amount not to exceed $20,205,775 payable from U.S. Department of Transportation grant funds. As you recall, we earlier did a grant. This is the airport use agreement with Contour Airlines. That was a 5-year agreement, roughly for $4 million per year. This is a pass-through to keep Contour Airlines out there. So this time I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Watkins. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Commissioner Watkins, you have a follow-up, sir? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and just note, I held all my comments because I wanted to make sure we had maximum time to give the sheriff to present today. But I was curious about the last agenda. We were going to have a procurement update. We got bumped for time, and we just got through with some other procurement stuff that jarred my memory. So I was curious about when that was going to come back around.
It'll either be on the 14th or the 21st. We haven't finalized the date. We're still waiting on some numbers, but we asked Ms. Montgomery to be ready both of those dates.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And I thank you. That's why we put this on the end of the agenda, so we knew you'd go ahead and get to these questions for the sheriff. But we are in good shape. We took a vote on that? Yes. All right. Would you like to go into executive session for a brief moment before we get the sheriff, and we can finish on the sheriff, or you want to go ahead and do this first? Doesn't matter to me either way. It'll be a very short executive session, but I'm not sure what kind of breaks you need.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk during executive session either, so however y'all.
What you say?
I'm not gonna talk during executive session either, so.
All
Laser
right.
focused.
Sheriff Davis, you ready, sir? All right. We'll go dock out executive session. We'll be right back. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for purposes of all items discuss settlement negotiations, property acquisition, administrative proceedings, and all other judicial actions allowed by law. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, we're now in executive session.
We're still friends. Good. I was just deeply hurt at this point. What she did.
I got a motion to come out of executive session. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All right, we're now in executive session. We're going to move on to item 11A. Item 11A is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize a budget transfer within the sheriff's office budget an amount of $1 million from the commissary fund balance to building and building improvements and contractual services line items for the purpose of funding additional repairs and improvements to the jail. Before we ask for a motion and a second, I'd ask the sheriff or his representative to come forward to give us a little bit background information about these funds and what the funds will be used for. So Sheriff Davis, thank you for being here tonight. And we'll hear from you at this time, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This is really just an ongoing budget process and ongoing maintenance and things that we have to do in the current facility, in the current jail facility. We had put in for some money that we were going to look at toward the mid-year budget adjustments, about $500,000 at that point. And then we had the recent situation that happened with the escapees, and that we have some more work being done on some of the cell blocks, as well as some of the other infrastructure issues in the jail. So we knew that we was going to need some money to help pay for that, and we have some outstanding invoices and that sort of thing on some work that's being done right now. So we're really just sort of paying it forward a little bit. So we anticipate that this will be enough to carry us on through the rest of this budget year to get any kind of renovations done in the facility. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell on that.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. We got questions for Sheriff Davis?
And I might add that these funds are coming out of our commissary fund. This is not taxpayer money. This is money that the inmates, they're really helping to pay for their own upkeep. We have the store that we have in the jail facility where the inmates buy pastries and different other items, and that's the money from that. The proceeds from that goes into this commissary fund, and there's some other accounts that goes into there. So all of this money that we raise in the commissary fund goes back to support any type of infrastructure or operating costs or any kind of capital improvements that we have to do in the jail facility itself.
Okay. Commissioner Watkins, you have some questions?
Yeah. So thanks for that brief. I have several questions, but I guess I'll start with the commissary. I'm just curious a little bit more background on it. Like I know this is $1 million from commissary, and I know, like you say, it comes from the store purchases, telephones, and I guess other things that inmates, internet. So how much is generated a year? I know this is requesting $1 million be moved, but.
I have Finance Director Kim Roberts to answer that. She's the money cruncher. She can tell you how many, just about how much we have.
I would say on an annual basis, around $1 million per year, and that includes primarily the telephone commission and the vending commission.
And I have notes from a previous conversation, and it's a 60-40 split with the county receiving 60, if I understand correctly. 60-40 on what? I assume definitely for telecom.
Let me interject just one second.
Yeah.
I think this is very important information, and certainly the people at home need to hear it as well. So if you don't mind, Ms. Roberts, when you speak, if you'll get to that microphone, and the sheriff, we're having a hard time hearing you, and I know in a few minutes there'll be people all over social media saying, tell her to speak into the mic. So I'm telling you, speak into the mic so they can hear you at home, and also the sheriff will do the same thing to make this conversation flow a lot better.
Thank you, sir.
Can you clarify the 60-40?
So, like you mentioned, it's a commission split between the vendor. And if I'm understanding correctly, at minimum, the telecoms is a 60-40 split?
Well, it's actually a little more complicated than that. There are different portions. Some of it is phone, some of it is media, some of it is apps and tablets and things. And they have various percentages associated depending on what they are. The largest piece of it is the telephone percentage itself, and yes, it is 60-40.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
That's fine. Yes, the largest percentage of it is 60/40 for the telephone. There are various percentages for some of the smaller items, but the largest is 60/40, correct?
And I just, one of the things that's in my notes that I just found interesting, like the majority, like you say, comes from cell phones, 740,000 of the million. And like we charge 18 cents a minute for a local call. Is that correct? Within the facility? And I guess you have to charge something because of reasons, but 18 cents seems alarming for me. I know I would never sign up for that.
I apologize, I do not know the rate per minute, but I know that it does comply with, they're regulated as far as what rates we can charge, so I know it complies with that, but I do not recall right offhand what that rate is.
Okay, all right. And
If you'll remember, Commissioner, a couple of years ago, there were some lawsuits brought against some of the communications providers, some of the correctional communications provider companies, and so they've all had to adjust their rates. So all of these are standardized rates throughout the country that are in place. So that's kind of how that's been. Those figures have been arrived at.
yeah, still just, I'm sure that sounds great to you, but it's wild to me that for a building on 2nd Avenue, 2nd Street, that someone could call like 2 miles away in the city of Macon using the 478 and it's 18 cents. Like and we know that these are like the poorest people in our community, and the way that you go about getting money on your books, and there's all types of stuff going on but that's not what you're here about today. You're here about actually construction of the building. And one of the things that I wanted to stay focused on there is the actual facility. Maybe the last time you were here, or not last time you were here, excuse me, but we did a $3 million facility upgrade. I've asked a few times. I know we're gonna approve this today, but I have not received, and I don't know if anybody on this body has received a closeout report. Something that shows us when that started, when it concluded, what was actually fixed. And I know we're here today, and I read through the document, and that's like we're approving $1 million today, and I'm not clear. I know me and you have had some private or some conversations, and one of the things that I learned then that I didn't know was that only 300-ish of the cells have had their locks replaced so far. And I was under the impression, I don't know about the rest of the body, that the $3 million was for 800 plus lock changes. So if you could go over, take some time and tell us what we purchased with the first $3 million, and then what's included in this $1 million. And I'm very curious about the toilets included, but I'll pause there.
Okay. All right, to be clear, we talk about 3 million, but the actual amount that we received out of that was 2.6 million.
Okay.
It was from SPLOST funds, and so when you're looking at millions of dollars, we're equivalent over 400,000, but it was 2.6 million. Some of those POs and some of that work is still out on some of those projects that were done from that original scope of work. There was a lot of work done, and most all of this work is being done in the oldest part of the jail, the part of the jail that's 43 years old. And so that work is continuing. We're doing some renovations now on the newer part, which is almost 20 years old in and of itself. And so that's some of these POs are still out, to finish up that work to get that done. But when it's all done and sealed, that's an open record. I mean, anyone can get it. You being commissioners should be able to access that information fairly easily from the finance office. But we'll certainly be able to provide all of the scope of work and all of the work that's been done on that part. But what we have found is that we did a lot of work, and you can see there's some of it's been on the media, and I think some of y'all have been down to see some of the cell modifications that were done with some of these doors. Well, when you have a population that is there 24/7 and is sort of sometimes bent on creating mischief and creating creating disaster and destruction, they're always finding a new way to tear something up. There was some configurations of those cell blocks and the way that the covers on some of the motors in the cell block doors had been there for 38, 40 years, and nobody had ever figured out how to compromise them. Well, the inmates figured out how to compromise them. So now we're having to weld those plates shut so that they cannot be tampered with anymore. So that's another project, and some of this $1 million is going to go towards paying for that, as well as some other structural modifications to sort of help harden the facility up even more.
So you mentioned POs were still out. So how much is, of the 2.6, how much have we actually expended to this point?
Excuse me, all of that 2.6 has been spent.
It's all been spent and all the work has been, but whether the checks have all been written and everything's been closed out, I'm not sure. Kim and I think finance is, but whatever has been done, we can show you the amount of work that's been done and all of the different things that have been done for that money.
Respectfully, I didn't quite understand that answer. Let me try again.
All right.
So the project, all the money has been spent. Is all of the work complete?
For the 2.6, the majority of the work has been completed. There is an open PO with a small balance on it. We also have some open POs that are being paid out of the commissary fund, which is a separate funding source. So of the 2.6, the majority of that has been completed, but there is an open PO with a small balance on it.
And small is less than 100,000, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, in addition to the 2.6, we've also spent about 2.2 out of commissary for this, some of this work that's been done. And some of this also is just general maintenance. The air conditioning system. We had to spend nearly $60,000 earlier this year to fix a collapsed sewer drain that had happened in the jail. So there's always little things that come up that we're having to fix. We're having to fix the air handlers in the jail. We had a problem that was pointed out a couple of years ago in one of the grand jury visits about some of the ventilation in the kitchen facility. So there was work that had to be done to do that. And some of that money, some of the 2.6 million was used in some of that project as well.
So with the 2.6 million and the $2.2 million, I guess, project, when do you anticipate that it'll completely close out and be available for, again, I guess, sharing of data, documents?
Well, I'd just like to point out, you can pull the purchase order information at any time, and you can see the total project budget, and it would show the completion to date. So finance would have that paperwork for the last invoices that have been paid would show the complete budget for the project and how much has been paid to date and any balance that is still outstanding.
Okay, all right. And so that will come from the finance department here. The data on what was completed, I'm curious, I know we have about 850 cells that are cell doors, and how many of those were replaced?
Well, about 320 of them
Okay.
were replaced in this first project.
Okay, and
That's-
so does this the new project anticipates replacing the remaining doors?
Well, we never replaced any doors.
Oh, repaired, I'm sorry,
We just
repaired.
repaired them, upgraded them, renovated them. And so a good portion of this million will pay for that. But it's also going to pay for stuff like collapsed sewer drains.
Okay.
The air conditioning system tears up, or either you have something else happens back there. That it's a sort of anticipatory of some of the maintenance needs that we will encounter going for the rest of this fiscal year.
Okay, and the sewer drain, that's storm drawer or toilet sewer?
That's toilet sewer. That really all of the drains. This is one of the main drains in the corrections, to where it went into the old side where the old kitchen used to be, to where that's where all of that any of the residual water from cooking or bathrooms or any of that thing in that whole part of jail would go through that drain and had to be replaced, and it just collapsed. We're seeing that all over the place. We have the drains on all of the cell blocks about every 10 feet, there are water drains. Just about every one of those are stopped up, and the pipes themselves have collapsed. And that would be another $1 million or $2 million to go in and root those out and replace that with whatever any type of fixing mechanism that you had to do for that. I think now they'll ream them out and put some kind of concrete product in there to shore up the drain, but we would have to do that on about 40 different blocks, well, about 40 different drains throughout all the blocks to get that done, and that's a tremendous amount of money on an old facility. As long as we have one or two of the drains that work, we're able to service with what we got.
So that kind of speaks to a rumor, or I don't even know if it's a rumor, but I call it a rumor. That, like I said, you have your cell blocks, and on cell blocks there can be 100-ish people in them, or 40 to 100 people in them, and there may be 1 or 2 toilets working in a block.
No, the way it works is in the part of the jail that we're talking about here that has the bulk of all of this renovations that we've already done, and where we're going, these cell blocks, there are 20 people per cell block, 1 person per cell, 20 people per cell block. And depending on how many toilets work, depends on what the inmates do. The inmates will stop up a toilet with a sock. They'll stop up a toilet with an underwear. They'll stop up a toilet with a jumpsuit. And our maintenance people are in there about every day having to unstop a toilet because of something an inmate does. I've not seen, my 44 years at the sheriff's office, I ever seen a deputy or a staff of the sheriff's office go down there and stop up a toilet. It's always been the inmate. And we're always having to work on that. We're always having to stay ahead of that and clean up and work on some of the damage that is done by the people that are incarcerated in the jail.
And so they can stop up so badly where there only be 1 functioning toilet?
I don't think it could be that bad. If
Okay.
you'd have to have 20, you'd have to have 18 out of 20 inmates to stop up a toilet, to stop up all their toilets at the same time, and I don't think that has ever happened. You may have 2 or 3, maybe 4 at a time that do that, but then when they do that, they're charged criminally, and then they're also charged through their commissary account or through their account in the jail that helps us to recover some of those costs. But we can't recover all of that cost, but we try to get some of it back.
And I guess just so I'm clear, so we're working on sewer drains in the grander part of the facility, not the grander, but the common area part of the facility, but the cell area is a different, I guess, line, would require another $1 million infusion that's not addressed here?
No, I think that will be covered in all.
That will be covered in this?
That should be covered
Okay.
in some of this too.
Okay.
And I mean, we try to anticipate what we're going to be needing and anticipate what our maintenance issues may be going forward. There's already been some projects in capital improvement that have already been put in the budget for this year. I think air conditioning has been one of them that we're getting that up and running now. The changing out the air handlers and things like that. So that's something that's already been budgeted as a capital improvement that we're already working towards getting that replaced. I think it already has been. A large portion of that's already been replaced this year earlier.
All right, and I guess last for me, just to recap, so I'm sure I'm understanding you right. This $1 million will also allow for the repair, replacement, or upgrade of the remaining lock systems?
Yeah, we anticipate this to cover that cost too. What we're doing with this, and once we get through, I know y'all are certainly welcome to come down, and I've invited our friends in the media. And once we get through some of these renovations, we're going to show what we've done with that. We've worked on this before, the 2.6 that was paid for, and we did a lot of renovations, a lot of some modifications to the cell doors and things like that, and then they figure one more thing that they can do to destroy things and to tear stuff up. So now we're working on that particular aspect of it. And so we've got one block now that is completely locked down. We have another block that in the next few weeks are going to be locked down. My goal is in the next few weeks, by the end of the year, every one of those cells in the old part of jail are going to be locked, and there's going to be an inmate in those cells, and that inmate is going to be in that cell until I decide they're coming out. Y'all talked about neutral loaf, and you talk about how we feed them and behavior modification. You locked in a cell and can't get out for a while, that's a behavior modification. When you decide you're going to act right, we're going to let you out. We're going to let you come to the day room. We're going to let you have a little more access to other parts of the jail. But I will say, while you're locked in that cell, you're going to get your store call. You're going to get your 3 hot meals a day, no neutral loaf or any of that stuff. So that's the kind of the trade-off we got going on now.
I'll yield for a moment. Thank you for that, sir.
Okay. You're welcome.
Commissioner Bronson had a question?
Hey, thank you for the addressing the questions of concerns and so forth that we do have. We understand it's a tough job, right? I'll say that piece, right? Out of curiosity, with the budget that you're requesting on this end and some of the fixings that we're putting toward the jail, has a discussion been brought up in regards to fence sensors, right? Motion sensors and/or fence sensors. Has that been a discussion, or are we looking at adding those on to this particular request?
All of that is being looked at, and some of that may be covered in this. Some of the things that we're talking about are not that expensive. We've put in some more razor wire in some of the vulnerable areas in the jail. We're putting in some other monitoring equipment. I don't want to say all of the things that we are doing,
Understood.
but all of that's being looked at to see what is. And some of those fixes are not that expensive as far as like redoing cell doors and that sort of thing. Some of it is just buying some monitoring equipment to be able to watch the fences and to do things. Plus, we're redoubling our efforts. If we have cameras that cover a lot of that ground out there anyway,
okay,
and redoubling our efforts to make sure those cameras are monitored and then do some things. There's a lot of different things that go in. I've heard people talk about it's the staffing, it's the this or that. There's a whole lot of things that go into something that happens when something bad happens, but it helps you to reevaluate where you are and how to keep something like that from happening. Again, staffing plays a role in it. The old jail plays a role in it. No monitors on the fence plays a whole lot of different things that play a role in these things that happen. So you go back and dissect it and then address whatever those measures that you can realistically put into place to keep something bad from happening in the future.
So I will ask this, right? So, and I think we spoke once before, and I know we talk about behavior modification, being educated in mental health, counseling, and so forth. All right, when we start talking about behavior modification, have we looked at from an educational standpoint, right? When we start talking about behavior modification, I get you want to punish, right? Those are in jail for a reason, okay? And we get that piece of it. But if we're able to kind of shift the mindset from what may be proposed, may be assumed as a barbaric type mindset, right, into more of a back civilized type deal, are there any actions in place for that piece of it? I think you mentioned the library being brought back to life. Have we looked at certifications and so forth? Why that not? Because every now and then you hear a citizen say, well, they're in jail, they shouldn't be getting an education while they're in jail. I agree, but to that same defense, like, what are we doing to educate them so that way when they come back out of jail, they don't go right back in for the same thing because they don't know any better? Yeah. So what are we doing from that standpoint in regards to behavior modification?
We have several programs. We have the GED program that's in the jail. Right. That's been very successful for us. We've had a lot of people who have passed through, gotten their GED certificates in the corrections facility. We have outside, we have chaplains. We have a program now that comes in every Wednesday morning that comes in and talks to certain inmates to show them there's a better way, and that there's there are things that they need to think about when they get out on the street to maybe change their life around. And there have been a lot of inmates that have been touched by that. But when you have over almost 100 people in your jail charged with murder, and those individuals, they're not getting out. They're not getting out now unless they, their case is taken to court, and then they get, found not guilty, and then they're released, or if they work some type of bond agreement out, and then they get out on bond. So those individuals are folks that they're just in limbo. And I feel as bad for any of those folks as anybody, because those are the ones, and you have people in there that's been in there 2 or 3 years. And it's not just the Bibb County Jail. You talk Fulton County.
Right.
If y'all follow what's going on in Fulton County, it is horrendous. They've had over 16, 17 people die in the Fulton County Jail in the last year from all manner of reasons. And so the jail situations in your larger jails, older jails, is really a crisis in this country. And then you have people with mental health issues. We have an individual in the jail now that has severe mental health issues. He is, doing bad things. I mean, throwing excrement and all this stuff, where he really ought to be in some type of mental health hospital, but there is no mental health hospital that can hold this inmate. And he is in jail for a serious charge.
Correct.
So our mental health professionals do very well. They treat him with medication, they counsel with him and do whatever, but those types of individuals need to be in some type of a structured treatment facility, not the jail, but that's where we are today.
Let me ask you this then. So when we start talking about the number of personnel we have locked up, the process, right? What are we doing in regards to getting these cases pushed forward and getting them trialed? Either that, or having a process to where we're reviewing the cases for those individuals that may not, belong there, right? I recently got a case where it was, a person was in jail, was locked up, and they were just awaiting arrangement, or what it may be, to get their case tried, and they come back out, the case was thrown out because the guy kept telling them, hey, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yep.
And
those kinds of things have been addressed. That particular case has been addressed. That deputy is no longer with us.
Right.
He left before he was told to leave.
But
anyway, so we address those cases, but a lot of these cases, that's up to the courts and the prosecution.
Okay.
A jail is a holding facility for people awaiting trial, or those that have already been sentenced. It is a holding facility for those individuals waiting to go to prison. Now, I will say something that is encouraging. 8, 10, 12 years ago, my predecessor, Sheriff Modena, would come up before the commissioners and say, we got to do something about the jail. We got 1,000. I think at one time we had gotten up to 1,050 inmates in the Bibb County Jail, and we're only built for 966. Today, and for the last 6, 8 years, we have run under our capacity to where we're running about 850, 870 inmates every day in the jail. And a lot of things that have happened with that, you have the accountability courts, the mental health courts, the drug courts, the veterans courts, all of those accountability courts help to funnel people out of the jail.
Okay.
Then you have the prison system has been able to come and get those inmates. Used to, we would have 150 or 200 inmates waiting to go to a state facility. Now we only keep maybe 30 or 40, and those are just the backlogs of the most recent people who have been adjudicated waiting to go to prison. So a lot of things have happened to reduce that overall jail count, but we still have a number of people. And the people who are in our jail now, about 75 or 80% of them are waiting to go to court for some different charge. Either they've been charged with a serious crime, or they've been charged with violating probation, and so they're waiting for their case to be adjudicated. And you have to treat those inmates a little bit different. I have a person in jail for murder. He's not been adjudicated. He's just a pretrial detainee. That person, we can't make that person go work. We can't make that person participate in any type of, as you say, rehabilitation functions because they're considered innocent until proven guilty. And so those folks have to be treated a little bit different. And a convicted inmate is going to the state prison, and so they can be placed on work release or work, doing community service projects. So most of the people that you see out doing the cutting the grass and that sort of thing, they either have been convicted, serving like a misdemeanor sentence or a light felony sentence, or they're awaiting probation. They've already been convicted of something, but they violated their probation so that then they can go out and cut grass and wash cars and do those kinds of things, waiting for their final disposition on a lot of times their probation charge.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Bronson. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. Sheriff, thank you, and all the fine men and women, what they do every day, and I always thank them when I see them in restaurants, and just like I do the military.
Thank you.
And I don't think any of us can imagine how hard a job that is, but public safety is important. Thus, we spend 80% of our budget on public safety. And as far as the locks go, just to make sure I understood what you told Commissioner Watkins, so the locks have either been repaired or they're online to be repaired where they would be more secure than they were before.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And the number, what's the regular number of staff for the jail? If it was like you wanted it to be, how many people is that?
Well, about 25 folks to be up there on a full staff on a full night. And we have been getting to that point. There have been cases, you can look at some of the lineups, and we've had 25, almost 30 people on staff between our full-time and our part-time. And I don't want to get too deep into the investigation on the night of this escape, but that was one of those kind of things. That was an exception rather than a rule. You had people that called in sick. You had people that were out. There were things that happened.
Right.
As I've said before, it is never one thing that causes something bad like this to come to play. There's a number of different factors that go into it, and that's why we're taking our time to be very diligent to dissect that, to make sure that we plug those holes so that we don't have a repeat of this kind of situation. But since then, we've changed out the complete command staff of the jail. There's a new major, a new captain, 4 new squad lieutenants back in the jail. So we've kind of got some fresh blood, some fresh eyes back there, and they have really hit the ground running with some ideas and have stayed on top of some things. And they have been able to intercept some situations that might would have been unfortunate, not maybe quite as far as an escape, but some other things that might have happened that would not be good in the jail. And they've really hit the ground running to stay on top of those things. And we've had more staff coming in, the part-times, full-times, and that sort of thing.
So like with any business, employees are your greatest treasure or your worst nightmare, right?
A lot of times. And then you give them you have that, and then you have the tools that they're having to work with. If all the cell doors that have been able to be operating on that particular night, and have, there's some faulty cameras, that sort of thing is a whole different factors that go into this. And
right.
That's another thing. Some of this $1 million is going to make sure all those cameras in the jail are working as they should be and are upgraded as they should be.
So I know you don't want to talk about that particular night, but that particular night, it was scheduled to be fully staffed, but people call in sick or don't show up, and all of a sudden you've got a skeleton crew when you were supposed to have had 25. So,
there's a lot of different things, and we're looking into all of those different factors and whatever failings at whatever level that played a role into that. So we're looking into that. But let me say, I've said this many, many times. The signal right now, and the most important thing that we do, and as the sheriff's office with our federal and state partners, is to get those 4 inmates back. We got 2 so far, and we on the heels of the next 2. So once we get those in and get that done, then we're able to move parallel. We're looking into what caused this, but right now, the most important thing
Yeah.
is to get these inmates back in jail.
I agree. How many employees do you have total in your office now?
About 500 and something, right, Kim? Yeah, it's about a little over 500. And then you count the part-times and then the part-time corrections and part-time law enforcement. And that's
So
really
that's
better.
full-time, 500
Yeah,
plus?
about like that, yeah.
And then I think the mayor told us we've hired 150 new deputies in the last 12 months. I
We've
think that's
hired,
what-
well, we've done about, since November of last year, we've had about 184 total full-time, part-time, and civilian folks at the sheriff's office. And for once, we haven't lost that many. In years past, we treading water, so this is one of the first years we've
Right.
gained over losses of people at our office.
So what number do you consider you're fully staffed?
As many as I need. Y'all give me about 800, we might be there, but we'll see.
And
If
in my
you go back to
understanding,
consolidation, when we first consolidated, the total of both the sheriff's office and the police department was about 750 people. Now, I can tell you, we probably don't need that many now because there are some efficiencies that have come from consolidation and all. So I'm gonna stick with mine until I feel comfortable. I'm always gonna say we're about 100 short. And
So-
so we'll keep hiring until see how it goes.
so currently we've got about 500 plus, and you got another 184, so you've got about 684.
Well, you can
But
count.
184 of those are part-time.
Yeah, so you can count, a part-timer probably counts as maybe like of a third of a deputy, because a part-timer's gonna come in and work, 6 or 8 hours a couple of times a week. And because they're part-time, they're only limited to being able to work 29 hours a week anyway.
Right.
So that you figure, and very few of them work the maximum of the 29 hours.
Most of
So
them don't work 29.
they'll work, 12, 15, 20 hours a week.
But
we
you
have
take
some
them because
very,
they're pre-certified and,
Oh, yeah.
and you can use them.
and that's another thing I think I've heard tell on the street, that these folks that are part-time are not as certified or not as trained up as the full-times.
Right.
They have to have the exact same certifications, the exact same training, the exact same capabilities as a full-time deputy to be able to do their job. So we make sure that they're up to speed on all of that.
Yeah, my understanding was they were coming from Jones, Monroe, surrounding counties, so they're long ago been certified. They're just here in this capacity at Macon-Bibb as a part-time employee.
That's right.
But they're already certified deputies.
They are. Some of them work for, we got one fellow that's a deputy down in Lawrence County that comes to work for us. We have some in other agencies, a lot of the, like Mercer PD, Medical Center Police, some of them are retirees that have come in, and come back to work for us. And that's been, that's been very encouraging to have them. And they help us a lot on special details. When we have, cherry blossom coming up, and we have different things happening, that's things that those part-timers can fill in those gaps for those cases. And we have them out riding the roads also, being seen and being visible and answering some calls out there. So it's all coming together to make it, to make us more efficient and to make us more visible out there on the street.
Yeah, I think that's important, and I appreciate the primary focus is to get these two.
That's
'Cause
right.
I have a personal connection there, as do the Rogers family, not as strong as theirs because it was their family member.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Thanks again for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Any further questions from commissioners or follow-ups, Commissioner Watkins?
I know, and thank you for that on the staffing. It's still, like if you would have asked me if I would have guessed or been in a pool, I would have guessed 100+ people worked at the jail. I know it's a facility that holds 800 people. Sometimes you're at the courthouse doing this and doing that. Like 25 and 10 just seemed like a real small number. And just help me out with how do we get there? Because I know you got 2 shifts, so 25 would be 50 assigned to the jail. But like it's 500 people who work for the sheriff's department, or ish, that you just mentioned. And I assume those aren't all people with badges and guns to make this make a little more sense. Because the other half of it is patrol. And I've heard there's usually like 15-ish folks on patrol at night. So that's Like it leaves out in my mind like a couple hundred people that are, so,
Well, it's better than 15-ish now. It's better than 5-ish that we were talking about last year this time.
right,
So-
but it's like out of 500
we-
people. So
yeah,
what's happening there?
Okay, let's break this down. The sheriff's office is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365 operation. You have a certain number of people that are working on any squad. The way we have everything spread up on patrol and in the jail are 12-hour shifts. So you have 2 squads, well, really 4 squads, because you have on any particular day, you have a day shift squad and an evening shift squad, which, let's say for the sake of argument, you have 20 people on each one of those squads. Well, that's 20 on the day, 20 on us. So then you have on any other day, you have 40 people that are off. That's their regular off days. And then you have those it rotates on a cycle as to where people are. And then you have every single day, you can look at any roster, whether it's on patrol, and I've been dealing with this my whole career and allocating resources and manpower. Any day that you want to look at any roster, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 people off. Either they're out sick, they're in school, or they're on vacation. So you take that 20 and you knock 3 of them off straight off the bat. And then you get a couple of them that don't want to come to work that night, and they say, I'm sick, I got this or whatever, and so that knocks you down a little bit more. So, and then you have other division. We have the courts services division that has about 25 or 30 people assigned to it, and then you have outreach, and you have other functions, administrative functions that we have. And we're fairly lean on the administrative. You know, you hear people saying, well, you got people that's sitting up right behind the desk, they ought to be on the road. All those people that hold those jobs are out there on the road. They work part-time and they work overtime in the other divisions, but all of those is less than about 10 people that do our fleet maintenance, that do some of our administrative stuff, public affairs, those folks work overtime on the other squads and do other things too. So everybody is working, doing 2 or 3 different jobs in every division at the sheriff's office. Even people on patrol come back and work in the jail overtime to help shore up some of that.
So what I kind of learned from that for patrol, as it relates to patrol, a slot in patrol and a slot in the jail, like I say, if your job is to watch this step, that one position would require, have it covered 24/7. It requires 4 people.
There you go. Now you're getting it.
Okay, so 100 slots is 400
There
employees.
you go. There you go.
Okay.
Man, it took me about 20 years to figure that out. So that's every position that you have takes 4 people to fill it.
Okay.
Because of shift work, off time, and all of those different functions.
And my first question on that is there, because that's not, I guess it has a lot to do with being 24/7.
Yeah.
But is there a way through genius and management to make that 1 in 3 or something like that, or it is what it is?
I've been trying that for about 30 years since I've been in administrative and the higher up positions of the sheriff's office to make that, to squeeze every person you can get out of every position.
But roughly it's 1 in 4.
Overtime, part-time, overtime helps you a lot because you have people, when you cut that maybe 4 people, maybe it takes 3.5 because you got somebody that's going to come in and work overtime with you for half a shift or something. So all of those things that come into play.
Okay, all right. That's good information. That's new information. That helps me process what's happening a little bit better. Cause thank you. Yeah. So I guess the other thing that stands out to me, I want us to be able to do a little bit better in that reform space. Like I heard your comments earlier about with the everybody, we on lockdown now, and I was paying attention to you and Commissioner Bronson's conversation on that, and it seems like there's an opportunity, and I know it's completely optional on our end and somewhat optional for a lot of the inmates that are, but it seems like there's an opportunity for us to provide some greater level of reform, realizing the realities, and we talked about this a little bit before, but I just want the rest of the commission to just have that thought. Like, I know that you have the GED program and we have the Wednesday mornings sessions. But like I've been reviewing the data from the GED and just like you say, it's daily 800 prisoners. 4,800 folks were intaked in a year, or 4,800 intakes. I know a lot of those are repeats. But it looked like 6 folks got a GED out of there. 39 participated in the program, and I'm not sure. I guess that was over the last year. But I was curious on how that program works, because that doesn't seem to be and I guess it's purely voluntary. Do they go into a classroom once a day, or is that happening on the iPad exclusively?
No, on that particular, because it has to be proctored, there are teachers that come down, there are instructors that come down, and they meet in a classroom inside the jail. When you come visit, you'll see all of that, but that's when that's done there, and it's through a partnership with Central Georgia Technical College, and you have people, and sometimes it takes people maybe 3 trips to jail to get their full GED. They'll come in, be in jail for a couple of months, take a couple of the units of the GED program, and then they get out, and then they come back, and they, complete the whole cycle of getting the GED program. But then, as I was saying, some of these pretrial detainees, some of them that are in there waiting to go to trial or waiting to have their case seen, you can't make them, but they can volunteer. They may want to better themselves in that regard, and so we want to facilitate that any way that we can. We have there's some other programs that we've talked to folks about coming in and talking to individuals. But when they really study the type of individuals that we have in the jail, they realize that a lot of these folks are not going, if their case eventually goes through the system, they may not be getting out of jail anytime soon. So whether you're going to be able to reform them or not, is really a question mark there. But the folks that are in there, right now we have about 95% of the people in our jail are felony inmates, and so they're waiting to, get adjudicated and have other charges, get their charges worked out. So that whether you're going to be able to reform them, I don't know. I mean, we'll be happy to look at anything we do, but when you're at the state that we're in now in the corrections, when you have 30% of your folks have some type of mental health or substance abuse, and then you have about 10% of your folks that are just in there, and I'm going to tell you, they're in there, and the only thing they're thinking about is what they can tear up today. And so you have to deal with those individuals and in the best way that you can, and sometimes the behavior modification. And a lot of times peer pressure works. You may have 2 or 3 people on the block that's causing problems. And unfortunately, everybody on the block may have to be locked in their cell. Everybody in the block may not get the regular meals that they want, but sometimes those on the block that want to do right and those on the block that just want to do their time and understand that this is a jail and this is how they are, they will exert pressure on those others and kind of keep everybody in line. I mean, it's just kind of how it works in a correctional setting.
And just for me, you didn't mention it, but there are opportunities for, and as you mentioned, I don't know if there's a full wing, but intensified mental health, trauma. I don't know if the right word is classes, communications, one-on-ones, group sessions. Same thing with the substance abuse. I mean, is that something that someone has an option to attend or do on a daily or weekly basis?
Precisely, and that's one of the things that I'm very proud of. It started in July of this year. River Edge came back in as the mental health provider for the jail. For several years, about 3 or 4 or 5 years before that, our in-house medical provider, Correct Health, was the mental health provider also, because we had some there were some things that worked out that we didn't have a good working relationship with River Edge. But now, with the new director and everything's in place, we have a very strong working relationship with River Edge in the jail, as well as in our new co-responder program out on the street. So we have a very strong relationship with that, and I see that growing. As I said, they've only been in there since July. That's 3 months ago. So I can really see some promise in that regard. And they have more staff down there to where they are doing the group sessions, the one-on-one sessions, and those kinds of things to be able to give a better level of care to those individuals that are suffering from mental health issues.
My last point, and it's important, and it's related to the mental health and the substance abuse. The issue of K2 in your jail facility. Because it goes to the substance abuse. I mean, substance abuse and counseling is one way, but the lockdown is another way. How? Because that's messing folks up. Like, not just in your facility, but in Macon-Bibb as a whole. Like, these kids, and I know they're like part of. Like, I've been talking to parents and stuff from your facility, from not just your facility, but in studying on it. Part of it is because it can't be, I guess, tested or something like that versus regular marijuana or other drugs that may be used in a facility. But
that is a problem, and we stay on that. We have ways that you can test it. There's little lights and stuff you can get when that comes in. But K2 comes in, it's saturated on paper. Somebody can send in a letter, and it be saturated in that paper. K2 is not made from marijuana. K2 is made from chemicals. K2 is made from, I guess I ain't telling no secrets, but K2 is made from bug spray. There's a chemical in bug spray that the way it kills bugs is it attacks their nervous system. And K2, they take that and are able to distill it, and it creates the same type of reaction in a human as it does in a bug. It just doesn't quite get to the point of killing them, but it could if you took enough of it. But everybody's trying to figure out some new way to get high. And so it's sort of like some other products. The actual ingredient in it is not an illegal substance, but what they make out of it is illegal, and it can be, it can be very harmful.
Let me stop right here. I appreciate the conversation and educating some about this, but we need to move on a little bit, and we can come back to it. We've got a hearing that we got to have just a moment on the abandonment of property. But I do have a question for Commissioner Wynn. She's been waiting for a while. We'll get her question. See if we got enough to take a vote on there or a follow-up. If not, I'm going to do this hearing, and we'll come back to it. So, Commissioner Wynn, I'm with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Sheriff Davis, for taking your time out to be here tonight to talk to us. Kim, thank you for being here too, standing and waiting. A lot of information's come out, a lot of questions. K2, I've never heard of that. Good gosh. Anyway.
Go to jail, we'll show you some.
No, thank you. I'm glad I never got involved with drugs that I have to get that bad off and end up like a bug on my back with my hands up. But anyway, I want to go back to this $1 million because that's what this is about. You're going to use it for building and improvement. So let me just kind of, not specifically to the breakout we had, but when you get out of a cell, I know you said you're working on the cell doors and the locks. And then when you get out of a cell, though, you've got to go through a locked door, I presume, to get out of that cell. And then you've got to get out of the building. You probably got to get out of another door and maybe a window. And then you get into the yard and you've got the chain link fence we've all seen pictures of. Is there any possibility that any of those failed and need to be replaced or improved besides the jail doors and the locks, like the chain link fence? I mean, you can cut that fairly easily.
Yeah, that's all being looked at. We've put in some other the stuff we call concertina wire, razor wire. We've got that. We have some of the monitors, some of that kind of equipment that we're looking at about installing, and some of that is not that expensive, So it's stuff that we can put in, and I don't want to say what all we got, but also being diligent about monitoring the cameras and the situations that we have now. But aside from the way that this escape happened, just because somebody is out of their cell in a cell block, you described it very appropriately. They are
and I haven't been in there, by the way.
Yeah,
so.
but you kind of got you kind of got the idea down. There are a number of doors that they have to go out before they could ever get back to the street. There's probably about 6 or 8 doors, about 9 doors that they would have to get out before they got back out on the street. So that that level of redundancy is what's put in place to keep something like that happening. But whenever you have a situation that there's a whole lot of things happen to where that somebody is able to get tools and get things to tamper with a metal flap that was over a window, then they can get out. So
Well, I
that's how they
guess-
were able to circumvent all of that, and that's what we're looking at, how all that happened.
Well, thank you, because I guess that was just
Sure.
a perfect storm because many of those things failed, you know? But I hope that some of this money will go to improve some of those things so we don't have this kind of thing happening again. I want to say again, thank you for you, your staff. A lot of dedicated people work there. We appreciate them. I know a lot of people wouldn't want to do the jobs they're doing, or what you're doing. So thank you for being here tonight. And thank you for all the information you gave us, too.
You're very welcome, and thank y'all. Y'all are a partner in this too. And I know we sent out a letter about maybe moving forward on doing some stuff for a new jail, but that's for another discussion and down the road. But we'll work on that. And y'all are in this with us, and so I appreciate y'all's support and help on this too.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Commissioner Lucas, you want to make a motion to approve? Got a motion, Commissioner Wynn. Lucas, we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Follow-up question, Commissioner Watkins?
It was on does that require, the RFP thing, does that require an action from us? Is it happening? I know we got the letter, but I didn't know what was.
No, sir.
We'll kind of let you know on that. We're kind of we're doing some preliminary examinations on what may be available out there to do some of those studies and get some of that groundwork laid. We're not talking about building it next year. We're just talking about doing some of the preliminary studies of things that we would have to have anyway to make an informed decision on what we're going to do and where we're going to do it and how it's going to be done.
And lastly, the reason that in the K2, a lot of the stuff that's getting towed up in your jail is folks tweaking off of that. That's what I've heard, and that sounds believable to me based on what I see off YouTube. Like
People get stuff that they're not supposed to have, or either just their propensity to their behavior is that way. You know, it's a different type of folks sometimes in jail. We have a lot of we talk about being hard. I'm dealing every day or every other day. I'm dealing with a mother, a grandmother, an auntie, or a grandparent to deal with somebody that's in our jail to follow up, to make sure that they're getting treated right, to make sure that I even help them make bond. I have people that our investigators are bringing in the back door that I'm helping the grandmama get them out on the front door. So it's a process that we continually work at to make sure that everybody's treated as fairly as they should be.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. And I'm going to make one comment, and then we're going to move on for a vote and then get to our hearing. But I do appreciate the conversation about the jail. Just like the sheriff is constantly reminding people he's a constitutional officer and he runs that jail. We decide what kind of jail is built, when it gets built, and the location of those jails. And we certainly work in hand with the proper authorities, including the sheriff, to make sure that we do something that's suitable to Macon-Bibb County. So I want that to be very clear. It's at our time, our convenience, our location. I know the sheriff and I both phone been ringing off the hook with people wanting us to sell us property today and other days, but we got a handle on this. It's going to happen if the voters choose for it to happen. But the time, place, and manner and type of facility that we have is going to be determined by whatever mayor and commissioner that's seated at that time that vote's taken. So thank you, Sheriff, for being here tonight. We have a motion and second on this particular motion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We sent the consent agenda for tonight's agenda. We're going to adjourn this meeting and move directly into a public hearing. This public hearing is regarding the item that we talked about before. This is only the public hearing for the abandonment portion. I think we have one interested party that's here. So we'll hear from our attorney on the public as far as comments on purchase and unused right-of-way, abandonment of unused right-of-way on McKinney Drive. And I'll hear from Ms. Beavers on that.
All right. Good evening again, Commissioners. This is our public hearing. This is a procedure that is required under state law. So when we get a petition to purchase a piece of our right-of-way or a street, we have to notice a public hearing to the abutting neighbors and publicize that in our local legal organ, the Telegraph. So for this, we are just abandoning, which will remove it from our public rights-of-way, which is the first step before any sale. We will not be taking up any sort of sale resolution or approval tonight. So as we discussed previously, this is that portion of McKinney Drive that goes between Pine Ridge Drive down to its dead end at 777 McKinney. There are 3 abutting properties there. So the petitioner is one of those 3 abutting property owners. I've spoken with the other 2 property owners who have expressed interest. So we're holding off to discuss where we're going next with that.
Thank you for that information. I do believe we have at least one person here that will have to make public comments on this item. So if you don't mind, sir, if you'll come up to the front, speak directly into that microphone, but at first, if you don't mind telling us your name and your relationship to this property.
My name is Neil Reynolds. I own the property that's adjacent to this right-of-way, approximately 212 feet. I don't know if it would help you all, but I have some visuals if I could pass this down.
We can.
My purpose for coming tonight is to ask the commission to delay approving this abandonment. The reason I'm asking that is there is one major issue that has not been resolved, and that issue is drainage. As you will see as you get your map, there is a drainage ditch on the west side of this right-of-way. It's been there, I guess, for some 40-some-odd years. And if you also look at the right-of-way, you'll see that it's at the bottom of a hill there on McKinney Drive. I had an engineer that I know estimate that to be about a 15-foot slope. So we get a lot of water coming down that open portion of McKinney Drive down to the right-of-way. And a lot of that runaway goes into that ditch. To be fair to the county attorney's office and to the engineering department, they didn't really maybe see a need to explore that further until Friday of last week, when they were made aware that the potential buyer kind of wanted to fill that ditch in. The agreement was at that time that they would notify Macon Water Authority and let them come out and take a look at it. Fortunately, Macon Water Authority did come out today, and I happened to be home, so I got an opportunity to go out and speak with the gentleman, representative of MWA, and he told me that because it was an unopened right-of-way, that MWA would not have any ability, any authority on that to do anything with that ditch. After speaking to another engineer, I kind of disagree with that, because all the water that comes down to that ditch comes from the open portion of McKinney Drive down that hill, so that the MWA does have a responsibility to control that drainage, which happens to come into that partially into that ditch. It's complicated further by at the top of McKinney Drive, there's a dirt road. So there's a lot of silt, gravel, and dirt that comes down there that stops up the drainage ditches. There's one at the end of Pine Ridge Drive in McKinney and another one at the edge of the right-of-way. There is also a culvert that runs from the east side of that right-of-way over to the west side into that ditch. That ditch goes the full length of the right-of-way and then does a 90-degree turn and goes all the way to the back of my property, 162 feet, go into another culvert that comes from the Waterford Place issue. So to me, it is a community issue as far as the water. If it's not taken care of, right now, the ditch doesn't start for about 25 feet from the right-of-way. And I constantly have to dig out the silt to make sure that the water is running actually gets into the ditch. If this property is abandoned or sold, I no longer have the right to go over there and dig somebody's water track or dig a trail out so that water doesn't come onto my property, which it has and done some damage. If the proposed buyer fills in that ditch, the ditch on the east side is 3 feet higher than the lower part of the ditch, which runs close to my property. Guess what's going to happen to all that water? I'm willing to work with everybody involved. There may be some solution, but at this point, it has not been resolved. The county owns the property now and has a better opportunity to resolve it for the community than to sell it. And then I'm faced with litigation, not only of the individual who bought it, but also with the MWA because it's their water that's coming over. So I would like to see the water issue resolved before this is abandoned while the county still has a lot of control of the property. I would be glad to answer any questions you might have.
I don't think, this is just a comment section for you, so we appreciate that. We've previously received some copies of the layout for the area as well, and I appreciate you bringing those drawings tonight. So not sure if there's anything else we do from our attorneys or anybody else is here to speak on this matter. Any clarifications on there, Ms. Beavers? If you don't mind speaking to that microphone, Ms. Beavers.
I just want to clarify for the record that an abandonment does not impact the county's ownership of that property. It just removes it from our road maps. So.
Thank you for that information, and this concludes our comments as far as this particular hearing is.
I just want the attorney also to clarify when people say, because we don't need misinformation to get out when people say water belongs to the water authority. We need to clarify and clear that up also.
Yes, sir. So Macon-Bibb County has passed off stormwater management and sold our stormwater infrastructure to the Macon Water Authority. So while they don't necessarily own surface water, they don't necessarily own the water, they are responsible for its management and they do own that infrastructure.
Okay. Mr. Jones, do you have a follow-up, sir, before we end this meeting?
I'd like to know where the gentleman's home is, what's his address, and what's your take on, Ms. Beavers, what's your take on what he said?
With regard to our speaker's property, if you were to look at Q Public, you would see this roadway. He would be to the left. It is 5104 Pine Ridge.
Thank you.
I got you.
This is a hearing. This is not a voting.
And then
So my question is, so what's your take on what he's saying? So, you know, we've got some other issues with MWA. I've got one now with somebody. So, what's
with regards to MWA's ability to go into that ditch, because it would be our government property, they would still have that ability to go out and clean prior to the sale. Additionally, with regards to one private property owner's responsibilities to another with regard to water, private property owners do have a duty to keep runoff water from damaging a neighboring property owner. But at this point, just with the abandonment, it's my opinion that that would not impact MWA's ability to go onto the property.
Well, let me ask the mayor, is there any rush on this abandonment being done tonight? Is it critical that it's done tonight?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, as far as when we do the abandonment, there's not necessarily a set timeline for it. I do know that the property owners have discussed wanting to have the sale, however that ends, completed before the end of the year. So this is just our first step.
We previously voted to pass this unanimously at the commission meeting that we're having.
We did, but some new things have come to light.
And one of the reasons we put off the others because nothing's going to happen with the property. We're just taking the off of ours. Nothing will happen to the property until we determine the time, place, and manner of any distribution of that property through a sale or otherwise. And certainly everybody's rights will be protected at that time. This is just our abandonment portion that we typically do.
Yeah, but it's not like it's a home and worried about homestead exemption. So if he wants to get it done before the end of the year, then I don't know the reason for that.
maybe finances, I'm not sure. But that's for a different, part of this hearing. But right now, we're in a situation where the board previously, voted for the abandonment of this property. We'll bring it back at a later date to determine whether or not the property will be sold and under what conditions, and whether or not some that's maintained, and not sold or distributed. We're aware of this ditch, and that's certainly something that we want to address before it's sold. So I think all the protections are in place.
So this vote is not to determine that it is being sold.
That's correct. Good.
So can you hear me? After this hearing adjourns, if you vote on it in the regular meeting, it is simply, as Ms. Beaver said, to take it off our maps. We still own it. We still maintain it.
Okay.
Macon Water Authority still has the responsibility to the extent they do, and there won't be any sale until there's a further action. Is that correct, Ms. Beavers?
That is correct. Yes, sir, Mr. Groover.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to conclude all remarks for the section, this particular section on the abandonment. And we're going to take a 10-minute recess before we start our regular commission meeting. We have a couple of items to take care of at that, and some recognitions that we need to do, so we can give everybody time to get in their place and take a comfort break. So now time is 5:59, so about 6:09, 6:10, we'll start our regularly scheduled meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Macon-Bibb County City Hall. Today is Tuesday, November the 7th, 2023, and the time is now 6:10. I'd like to officially welcome everyone here and call our meeting to order. We'll begin our meeting like we always do, with a prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll move accordingly. This time, we'll ask everyone to stand by your heads if you may, and we'll have Pastor Finney, who's getting recognized tonight. If you don't mind, lead us in a prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we call on you in the precious, wonderful, magnificent, mighty name of Jesus. We lift you up. We praise your holy and righteous name. Realize you got all power in your hand. We calling on you right now to be one in the midst. We thank you for our mayor, our commissioner, and all of those that are here. Let your spirit of peace, love, and protection rest upon each and every one. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Commissioner Lucas, if you don't mind, I'd like for you to go down front, and we'll have Pastor Finney and everyone that's with him, if you don't mind as well. I think a couple of people want to say a few words. And earlier tonight, we had a pre-commission in which we agreed and passed unanimously item on there that allow us to recognize Pastor Willie Finney Sr. while he is here with a street designation in honor of him. And that was sponsored by Commissioner Lucas and Commissioner Bronson. And at this time, we'll hear from them and anyone else in the congregation that would like to say some words. We'll take a picture and we'll move on accordingly.
Brought a lot of the congregation. One or two, yeah. Mr. Mayor and fellow commissioners, Commissioner Brunson and I are co-sponsoring this legislation. Oh.
If you're not speaking, if you don't mind, come up front, yeah.
Those who are speaking. You've already heard from Pastor Finney. He's a gentleman that I admire greatly. He's been involved in Macon's community for a long time. He's a retired firefighter, and his lovely wife, First Lady of St. Peter's, is next to him, along with his a small group of his very, very loyal congregants. And so at this time, what I'd like to do is to read the first portion of the ordinance. And this is an ordinance because it actually changes the law. It's added to our code of ordinances forever and ever in honor of this great man. This is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate that portion of Fort Hill Street running between Shirling Drive and Morrow Avenue in honor of Pastor Willie L. Finney Sr. in recognition of his years of service and leadership to St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church and the Macon-Bibb community. And it also includes the appropriation of a sum which is sufficient for the manufacture and placement of signs that are suitable to recognize your contributions to the Macon-Bibb community. It starts off whereas Commissioner Elaine Lucas, District 3, and Commissioner Paul Bronson, District 2, desire to sponsor this ordinance to dedicate that portion of Fort Hill Street running between Shirling Drive and Morrow Avenue in honor of Pastor Willie L. Finney Sr. And whereas Pastor Willie L. Finney Sr. is the pastor at St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church located on Fort Hill Street in Macon, Georgia. And whereas Willie L. Finney Sr. was born on September 26, 1951, to Leonard Mason and Mary Finney Washington. And whereas raised alongside his four siblings, Willie L. Finney Sr. attended Bibb County schools before enlisting in the United States Army, proudly serving his country and community until 1972. And whereas on June 24th, 1973, he married Ms. Vicki Holmes, and the couple welcomed 4 children together. And whereas shortly after his marriage, Willie L. Finney Sr. continued his work to the community by joining the Macon Fire Department, where he served 25 years and 1 day, retiring as a lieutenant. And whereas, as he worked protecting the citizens of Macon and raised his family, Willie L. Finney Sr. felt the call to ministry, and in 1987 was ordained by the late Pastor Joe L. Hill of Mount Salem Baptist Church in Gray, Georgia. And whereas, as Pastor Finney Sr. grew in his leadership of the church, he came to serve as pastor at St. Peter's Baptist Church, Missionary Baptist Church, in 1990. And whereas, as a testament to his love for his congregation, his family, and his faith, Pastor Willie L. Finney Sr. leads by example, with several of his children joining the ministry and establishing numerous initiatives to support both the spiritual and physical needs of Macon-Bibb County residents, including a children's church, hospital, jail, and nursing home ministries, and a soup kitchen, in addition to weekly services and Sunday school classes. This particular ordinance goes on to continue to pay tribute to you, Pastor Finney, and to your wonderful congregation. And I offer a motion, Mr. Mayor, at this time, that this commission accept this unanimously on the recommendation of Commissioner Brunson and myself. And I'd like to make that as a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. We had a motion by Commissioner Lucas, a second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion does, in fact, pass unanimously. We thank you very much, and I believe that there's a couple of folks that want to make a presentation and say a few words.
If there are members who